is advised.
Hello and welcome to the Liam Scheff Show on Truth Frequency Radio and UCY TV and wherever fine talk shows are sold. This is going to be an unusual show because I'm going to record it. This is not live. I'm going to record this over 2 days so that you can walk with me through my anus, through a gallbladder cleanse. Yes, it's going to be a gallbladder cleanse today with Liam on the Liam Scheff Show. Remember, you can support gallbladder cleanses by going to Amazon.com, buying official stories, counter arguments for a culture in need. Yes, official stories do exist to protect officials, and perhaps cleaning your gallbladder is just one of the many subversions of that paradigm that we can do. It all came about a week ago when a very, very good friend of mine was suddenly throwing up. She had no food poisoning that we were aware of. She had been fine. The pain came on, and the pain was intense. Highly intense. Intensely intense. More than she wanted to handle, and she's no shrinking violet. She's had kids. She's had pain. And it was worrying. It was worrying. And she threw up, and she felt better. She went to bed. Next day, we sort of thought things were coming around, and she ate mildly and was okay, and then lived a little, and a healthy person. No McDonald's, no cheeseburgers, no deep fried anything. Just sort of a normal, healthy diet with all the new normal things: coconut and nuts and seeds and vegetables and I don't know what else. Greens, lots of greens. But she ate, and the next day she went to bed, and she woke up and there was some pain. The pain got worse and worse, and then she threw up. Well, then she was just in bed all day with a heating pad on her side, and the pain was sort of creeping through her right side. Well, I got on the old internet machine and just started to look up symptoms. So you immediately say, well, is it appendicitis? Do you have an inflamed appendix? Or are you having a fever? Well, you look up appendicitis. Fever, pain throughout the abdomen, but most definitely it's an infection, it's an inflammation, and you will be running a fever. You're running a fever, you're not running a fever. Okay, what about... Okay, well, no, it's over there. Liver, oh, the gallbladder's over there. Okay. What about kidney? Well, you could... It is in your kidney. Is the pain in your kidney? Are you having any blood in your urine? No? Okay, you're peeing without pain. No pain. All right, so what's next? So you keep looking. Did I say Oh, the gallbladder's over there. Wait a second. You could have a kidney stone, but you could have a gallstone. Okay, so now we're looking at gallstones. We're wondering if that's it. Is it gallstones? We're looking. The pain gets worse and worse and worse. So it's so bad that she who hates the hospital goes to the colon hydrotherapist, and she gets a washout, and that reduces the pain, and they think they see some pebbles. Oh, maybe gallbladder. Okay, what do you do? Well, what are you eating that might cause gallstones? So I've been on this path of, frankly, rather severe worry, because I was worried about my friend, and apprehension, and some pain and fear at somebody else's pain and fear, and then a lot of research and a lot of reading. I'm going to share some of that with you as I do my own gallbladder cleanse. Now, I've been warming up to it. I've been reading about it. I've watched my friend do it. I've been reading about what's recommended. There are, of course, websites that try to debunk it. We'll look at those too, the debunking websites. Because for every good idea, there's a psychopath, S-C-I, from scientist, psychopath, somebody who worships at the cult of science, who has no tolerance for anybody doing anything that doesn't involve circumcision, laparoscopy, amputation, or pharmaceutical drugging. If you're not doing any of those things, or chemotherapy, or AIDS drugs before you have any problems, you're doing it wrong, clearly. So those psychopaths are there. SCI, like science, psychopaths, are out there on the web. in their internet brothels, the science blogs, telling themselves how great they are for destroying the world with Fukushima, radiation, nuclear weapons, chemtrails, and all the rest, because of course none of those are real unless they are, in which case that they're perfectly harmless and everybody who's worried about anything is an asshole. According to them, the psychopaths. So we'll talk about that too. One of the first things we looked up was coffee enemas. I called my friend Robert Scott Bell, and of course, got to do the coffee enema. Loosen the stool. Get that liver to dump. So we go and sorry, Robert. We go and, of course, he has got good advice, and you can listen to the Robert Scott Bell Show for all of his good advice. So we go and we look up coffee enemas. What kind of coffee? Well, organic, light roast, blonde roast, not too dark, gold roast they call it. Well, what kind? Which is very light, so it's not green. Could you use green coffee? Yes. Could you use green tea? Yes. Could you use yerba mate? Yes. Why? What's the principle? We'll get into that. I'll talk about the principle of the coffee enema. But what about the pain? Okay, well, what do you do for the pain? Well, of course, the pain goes down when she's not eating, which that's not great. The first thing I thought was, do you have a twist in your intestines? So I'm reading about that. Mostly little kids get twists in their intestines, and very, very, very old people who are on all kinds of drugs get twists, or have scar tissue and other problems get twists in their intestines. Mostly healthy, young and middle-aged people don't get twists in their intestines. But I looked it up and it said, do you have a blockage? What will you do for a blockage? You have to get it surgically sorted out. Oh, well, the note of panic went up when I said that. Nobody wants to go in for surgery, and it's very scary because you can get an infection in the hospital. I said, I won't let that happen. We'll go in, we'll take sovereign silver hydrosol, and we'll just, douse you with it. You'll drink it, and that should rid any of the pesky bacteria, because silver ions will pin themselves to available oxygen, nitrogen, and I think carbon, and which is what, bacteria are made of, and they'll disable and dismember the bacteria, and they'll also usher in oxygen, which will power the healing process. Reactive oxygen species. Oxygen's a sword. Most swords are double-edged. I don't know if I should say double-edged sword, but it has the plus of being what we need, and has the negative of being an oxidizer. So the body's always wrestling with oxygen. It needs it, and then it has to bind it and make sure that it's not running around as a radical. Okay, so I'm going to do this procedure, and I will read it to you now, and I will take a break, and then I will come back tonight once I'm a third of the way through the procedure, or halfway or so, and then I will go to sleep, and in the morning I will tell you how it's going, and then I will finish the show after the main event, which hopefully will be a releasing of some pesky little marbles, if I have any, and everybody probably of a certain age has some. Right, so the show will be in 4 sections, and this is the first, in which I'm just telling you what's going to be happening, and I'm going to tell you now something I found online. There's a woman called Dr. Hulda Clark, and I don't know her, I don't know much about her, but she's the go-to lady for gallbladder stuff. So I'm going to read to you now the gallbladder page that I got from, I really should give a credit to this, and I will, from one of the websites that I was looking on. And if this sounds unscientific or something like that, well, who cares? If you go to the internet and look up gallbladder flushes, you will see dozens, maybe hundreds of people giving testimonials with video and photos on websites on YouTube, all showing pretty much the same kind of thing, which is that they had success by stimulating the bile to excrete by using a magnesium salt, which we call Epsom salt, to dilate and relax the body, so that there was no pinching in and around the gallbladder or the bile duct, then to use oil to pass through to lubricate, and in that process of using those 3 things to cause the gallbladder to contract and squeeze and push out the bile that it's absorbed from the liver, which is what it does, and then to drop the stones back into the the intestine and drop them through the colon and out of the body. That's the idea, and we'll see what people say about it online. Now, I found this thing by Thomas Corriher, Corriher, published in 2009, and this is very much based on Dr. Hulda Clark, and I don't know anything about her. And then you find this same thing all over the place. Now, he says some things that I don't think are quite accurate, and then he says things that I think are okay. So, let's look at his basic recommendations for fast release from a gallbladder attack. Drink a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. That's pretty strong. I would mix that with water, of course, so you can get it down. If possible, also chase it with 8 ounces of apple juice, preferably organic, or mix both together. It sounds fine. Most of the pain should disappear within 15 minutes. Well, that didn't really work. The apple cider vinegar was helpful and seemed to be helpful and seemed to soothe pain. It contains malic acid, an acid from apples, that is intended to soften the stones, the gallbladder stones. So that's why people talk about apples, apple cider vinegar, malic acid. The problem is for these long fasts is that people recommend drinking, a quart or more of apple juice a day. Well, you're getting grams and grams, and you're getting a chocolate bar's worth of sugar, which only feeds candida and may just make you a little bit sick and may make you have a runny nose or, feed bacteria in your body that are bothersome. So we were just really emphasizing the water and apple cider vinegar with other fresh juices that were being juiced through a juicing machine, like carrot and turmeric and ginger and beet and celery. All of these were recommended. So that's what was going on, and that seemed to soothe things a little bit. And again, my friend was vomiting upon eating just a little bit of food, which is scary, for a person who's not heavy and can't afford to really lose any more weight. It's a little scary to watch somebody throwing up, and it's a little terrifying, really. You think, well, what's happening, and how do we stop this? And so you're sort of desperate, and that's why people run to the hospital. And they're desperate, and there's a lot of pain. Let's go on with this thing. This fellow then recommends to reduce fat intake overall, especially on natural and toxic fats, hydrogenated oil, soy, and canola. Natural fats like butter are better, he says, but should be used in moderation nonetheless. Well, I think that's practically insane because butter is a sticky fat. And you don't want any sticky fats at the point, and anything with cholesterol at the point that you're doing a gallbladder cleanse, because gallstones are based around, our accumulations around cholesterol. So, I've said this for a while, and maybe more privately than publicly, but there's been a great move in the natural health community that butter and eggs are just great for you, also meat and bacon are just great for you because they have saturated fat. Well, that's just not true. We don't need very much saturated fat, and we can certainly tolerate some, but excess saturated fat does cause problems in the body because it's a sticky fat and it tends to congeal, and it will form in plaques in arteries around damaged areas. Now, you can fix those plaques with vitamin C and all kinds of antioxidants and other things, pomegranate juice, shiitake mushrooms, daikon, soups and juices. You can do all kinds of things that are good for the body, but eating just a ton of meat is problematic because the body has to deal with sticky fats. It also has to deal with an excess of protein. Protein is made of acid, amino acids, which digest as acids, which mean they need bases to be combined with so they don't scar and damage the body so they can be excreted. In other words, you're going to be pulling bases like calcium, maybe magnesium, out of the body, and you're going to be robbing your body of calcium and other alkalizing minerals. Well, you need these alkalizing minerals, but now you're using them to digest excess protein. So the people in the Atkins and the paleo diets who eat nothing but protein and have nothing but diarrhea aren't really very healthy. You need some saturated fats, you can use some, and you can use some medium chain fats, I think like those in butter and coconut, but, medium chain are also saturated to some degree. So I'm going to say no to that. Omega-3 supplementation is recommended, he says, by way of flaxseed oil capsules. Well, why not just drink flaxseed oil or olive oil? Flaxseed oil and olive oil, omega-3 oils, hemp seed oil, and I think sesame oil to some degree are all end up on the win list for this. He talks about red yeast rice, reducing cholesterol, but he then talks about butter. Sunlight exposure is good, converting converting D2 into D3. Exercise, milk thistle is a liver tonic. I don't know the metabolic actions of milk thistle, but it's liver active. Dandelion root, the same. Dandelion leaves. He hates soy. He's probably a Weston Pricer, so he hates soy. Soy doesn't. It says soy products can have disastrous effects upon hormone balance. I don't think soy has any more of a disastrous effect on hormone balance than milk. I think it probably has less of a strong effect than many large animal products. Nevertheless, while you're going through any significant change, unless you're an Asian who grew up with it, I suppose you can cut down on soy and certainly avoid things like soy milk, which are hard to digest. And although the fats in them are fine, they are hard to digest because of probably the protein molecules. Vitamin C makes cholesterol more water soluble, he says, so excess vitamin C. Turmeric increases the solubility of bile. In other words, turmeric is your friend. It's not only anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, but it's also going to help your bile pass around anything and be absorbed into anything. So that's good. Consume apple cider vinegar, lemonade, or apple juice regularly. Now, and he says supplementing with several tablespoons of apple cider vinegar per day is best. Yes, we're back to malic acid, and lemonade will have citric acid and other components which will be good at dissolving or softening gallstones. But they're also good at stimulating the gallbladder to squeeze, to excrete. So you're getting it to move. Now, one of the other things that was very helpful for my friend, in other words, sour is your friend. And I don't mean Sour Patch Kids or, gummy bears or anything like that, or sour, Swedish fish. I mean actual sour. So grapefruit becomes good and important in this recipe. It's just a way to get a lot of sour citric stuff that has some, probably some small important molecules that also help the liver to begin to function, to excrete, and the gallbladder to squeeze and excrete. It's probably what they're going for. Apple cider vinegar, all the sour things. So you go through this list and you get an idea of what's good. What's good are monounsaturated fats, the EFAs, the fats that you get in olive, flax, hemp, and probably sesame to a degree. In other words, the non-sticky fats. The non-sticky fats here are your friend. What about avocado oil? Well, avocados are mostly monounsaturated, but they do have some proportion of saturated fats. I don't think they're bad in any way. I think they're quite good. If you're having gallstones, I would stick with the totally monounsaturated fats, the polyunsaturated fats, for a little while, and then I would reintroduce avocados in meals. Fats are good for a number of reasons because they jump, they go through the stomach very quickly, and if you're throwing up and you can't get calories in, some fats will just fats will tend to move very quickly through the stomach and get into the intestine where you can begin to digest and assimilate them with the bile fluids. Well, if your gallbladder is blocked, of course, producing bile fluids is very difficult. So that's the problem. That's why they want you to reduce fats, maybe take very few. But if you're very calorie deficient and you can get some fats down, fats are that's the best way. Their molecule profile is, I think, 2.5 or 9 calories per molecule as opposed to 4 for a carbohydrate or a protein. And again, calories aren't just calories because fat calories will definitely give you energy, whereas protein calories aren't really going to be used to produce energy unless you dismantle them through an energetic scavenging process in which you create a lot of acid and then rob the body of minerals. Carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, also have to be broken down using energy, but you get a lot out. Carbohydrates are very, very important. And a lot of people who've gone into the Paleo Primal Atkins thing misunderstand how the body works. It's very important to have a sponge, a calorie sponge, that can move slowly through the intestine to provide you energy over a 12-hour period, over the course of digestion. Fats will go more quickly than carbohydrates. Sugars will go much faster than almost anything, which is why they're a problem. And proteins don't want to become energy. Proteins want to become building materials. So let's say you have coal, you can use that for energy. Coal is a slow burning, thing. Coal would be like a carbohydrate, or wood would be like a carbohydrate. Well, some fats won't be quite like gasoline, but they'll be like a more sticky oil that will burn faster and hotter, but you'll move through it faster than you would a big block of coal, which will burn more slowly. What was the other thing? Oh yeah. Burning protein for energy is not quite like burning metal, but you get the idea. These are building blocks, and I guess you can burn them, but it takes energy to get the energy out of it. And you will get energy out of it, but you'll also create a lot of certain problems and other things. Okay, so it's not a perfect analogy, but I think you get the idea. Now this guy at this website, HealthWise with a Y, which I wish, and a Z, thank you, .org, holistically and naturally treating gallstones, gallbladder attacks, etc., recommends castor oil packs. Castor oil seems to have an anti-inflammatory prospect and seems to penetrate the skin pretty well. You apply it on a little piece of flannel or wool. You put plastic over that, and you put a heating pad or water bottle over that. And the heat, of course, always opens the capillaries. It brings blood circulation into an area of the body. Hot is good for bringing in blood flow, blood circulation. We do something in this country that people in Europe don't do. When we have an injury, we put cold on it. When they have an injury, they put hot on it. They want more blood flow in a sprain or an injury to increase the flow of healing blood cells, nutrients, etc. around an injury. We freeze it and expect it, just to somehow heal. We want to numb the pain instead of sort of letting the pain flow through us. There's an idea that when you have pain you have to block it, or there's an idea when you have a pain you have to find its source and go into it. It's wiser in the long term to, when you have a problem or a pain or even let's say a conversation that isn't going well, instead of, people will say, well, let's not talk about that anymore. Well, you've just sort of put a scab on something and it's still there and still festering. Or if you have a pain in your body, you say, well, I'll take these drugs and I'll mask the pain. Well, it's still there, but you're disconnecting your nerves or you're blocking a natural impulse. So if you have a pain, you essentially go into it, go to the source of it. If the pain is your gallbladder and it's a stone and it's inflamed and not blocking, you of course want to reduce the inflammation and increase the ability of the thing to come out. The sour seems to be what they're saying is going to do that. The oil, which we'll get to, will help lubricate that process and help stones pass through. Although I have to admit, I don't quite exactly understand what they mean. Are they saying that the oil passes through the liver into the gallbladder and then lubricates it? Or is the lubrication just a way to get the bowel to move? I'm not exactly sure. And finally, the Epsom salts dilate. They're magnesium, and magnesium is extremely relaxing. So the Epsom salts massively dilate and cause expulsion from the bowel. In other words, cause you to poop. Or shit, if you feel like swearing. So I'm about to do all of this. My friend is doing it, and I'm going to check in with her and see how she's feeling, see how she's making through. She got through her first night with much reduced pain, but again, not eating much, and the nausea that happens after eating seems to be an indication that the bile is backing up into the liver, not being able to come out as quickly as it should. She's had a couple of, what are those called, colon hydrotherapies that seem to reduce a lot of inflammation and pain and even release some stones. So that really clued us in that it might be the gallbladder. But, you got to keep the mind open, and, we've thought about all kinds of things. Well, here's the procedure, and this is exactly this is more or less what I'm going to do. You need extra virgin olive oil, cold pressed, organic. You need a grapefruit or two. You need some optional lemons. You need some Epsom salt, which you can buy anywhere. Tablespoons of Epsom or magnesium salts. 3 cups of fresh grapefruit juice or apple juice. Well, I think the cups of grapefruit and apple juice are what the grapefruit is for, unless I'm incorrect. Chamomile supplements, and those are to help you rest. The basic procedure is that you're going to go pretty hungry during a day. You're going to have a light meal. You're going to go through the day, and you're going to cleanse by having nothing that really gets stuck in the bowel. You can have some potato. They even say some oatmeal. I'm going to say stick with things that digest pretty quickly. Pretty quickly. I don't mean candy bars. The problem with sugar is that it digests so fast it robs your body of all nutrients. It causes a massive spike in insulin. You have to use all your insulin up as fast as it can be produced and faster. And then, of course, you have no ability to digest any more sugars. You fall down into a stupor. The rest of the sugar is immediately converted in as quickly as your body can into fat and stored in your middle and your butt. So sugar converts to fat very easily through a metabolic process in the body. And it also feeds bacteria. It also likes to feed candida. So sugar is not your friend. And I mean bananas and excess dates and fruit sugar is not your friend. You know, to some degree, some fruit sugar imbalance. But if you're juicing 15 oranges and apples a day and drinking that and eating 12 bananas, you're just going to have candida. You're going to have sore throats. You're going to be wan. You're going to feel hyper and moody and very difficult. Life is going to be difficult because your moods are going to be crashing. You're going to be stealing your B vitamins just to digest what's going on. Well, this is a strange gallbladder journey on the Liam Scheff Show. I'm going to now read to you what it is that I'm going to be doing. And the next time you hear from me after the break, I will be Epsom salted up, and I will have been fasting for the rest of the day after a small lunch. And I will tell you how that goes. Now, I'm just going to jump right in to what it is. Here it goes. And remember, you can support all the great gallbladder healing by going to Official Stories on Amazon.com and supporting the writing of my new book, American Heretic. So he says, eat a no-fat breakfast and lunch, such as oatmeal or porridge, with fruit juice, bread, and preserves. Well, this is insane. You know, bread with honey? Really? This guy is more on the paleo track because you don't want bread right now. You don't want anything so tightening, so difficult to digest. You don't want a baked potato. You want a boiled potato. Vegetables that are salted only, fine. I would say salted with curry and turmeric to increase digestive enzymes and flow. But you don't want a ton of honey and sugar in the morning, preserves. It's just ridiculous. It'll crash your insulin. You'll be very tired and moody. I would say eat vegetables and avoid oil. Eat some potatoes. Eat some sweet potatoes. At 2 p.m., he says discontinue all food. It's very important. You're going to prepare grapefruit and apple juice inside a jar with 4 tablespoons of Epsom salt, 3 cups to 4 tablespoons. I've seen other people say 2. If it's too nauseating, I'm sure you could take more if you were just that crazy. At 6 p.m., you're going to drink your first cup of this, 3/4 of a cup to a cup of this Epsom salt grapefruit juice solution. You could put a little water in to rinse your mouth or a dab of honey. You could put salt on your tongue if you're feeling nauseous. At 8 p.m., you're going to do the second one. By 10 p.m., you're going to take the half cup of olive oil, 8 ounces, and the half cup of grapefruit juice, and you're going to mix it, and you're going to drink it. He says drink it through a straw. It's easier. My friend drank it through a straw. Then you're going to lay down. And the reason you're going to lay down after it hits your stomach is to hold your body horizontal so that the so that the olive oil, Epsom salt, and grapefruit juice can be sort of migrating through your digestive system without gravity forcing it down too quickly. In other words, you're going to try to stall everything in your gallbladder. At that point, you're going to lay on your right side for as long as you can, then on your back, your right side and your back. You're going to go to sleep. He says take some chamomile peels, take some ashwagandha or chamomile, and let sleep take you. The Epsom salt should have pretty well exhausted you during the day. Then you get up. You do you take another 2 rounds of Epsom salt drink over the next 4 hours of being awake. You're going to be evacuating your bowels from time to time during this process. And in the toilet, you might just find an increasing number of little stones. Well, I'm going to tell you if that's what happens. Stay tuned. The next time you hear from me, it will be 12 hours later. This is Liam Scheff on the Liam Scheff Show, UCY TV and Truth Frequency Radio. Please support my work by supporting my work. I got a PayPal link on my front page, and I'm writing my new book called American Heretic. See you in 12 hours, and also 1 minute, also 10 seconds. Welcome back to the Liam Scheff Show on UCY TV and Truth Frequency Radio and other networks. We're in the middle, I'm in the early beginning, middle of this gallbladder experience. Maybe I should tell you a little bit more about my diet on a regular basis. It's very low in the food chain. Some grains, nuts, beans, lentils, seeds, a lot of curry, turmeric, sometimes an onion, a lot of, sometimes potatoes, sweet potatoes, carrots, greens, lettuces, bitter greens, kale, collards, etc., mustard, cilantro, oils, plenty of oils, avocados, olive, sesame, and walnuts, salt, sea salt, yes, plenty of sea salt. Did I say spices? I already said some herbs, all that kind of stuff. What is not in the diet is sugar, a lot of fruit. I've cut out most fruit over the years. I used to eat plenty of it, and of course I had, well, not of course, but I had plenty of problems going along with it. I don't know what else is in the diet. I'm just trying to think. What else isn't in the diet? Baked goods. Not so many baked goods. I spent a lot of time, too much time in my life eating crappy box cereal. It's just nonsense. It's dry and it sucks the nutrients out of it sucks the water out of your body, and you have to hydrate it just to get it through yourself. It's oxidized. It's sitting in a box forever. It really has very little value. It has some sprayed on chemical vitamins probably, but it's just not really food. I'm not a paleo person. I'm not a fruitarian. I'm not a raw foodist. I'm not a heavy meat eater. I'm probably more vegan than not, but I try to be a little bit flexible if I have to. My diet has changed dramatically over the years, but slowly, bit by bit. I think I got into vegetarianism didn't seem young enough, but fairly young. I sort of flirted with it at 16, 17, but I got yelled at a lot for doing that, and then I went back to it at 19 and really stuck with it. Of course, nobody in America knows anything about nutrition, so it took me a long time to figure out how to eat. We all maintain our childhood habits. They appeal to us. They appeal to us emotionally. You know, grew up with cereal. I grew up with cereal as like a major grain, stuff that comes in a box that you read, some sort of crap on the back, or you get a toy in it, and that's supposed to be a food. It's not. I'm not sure what it is. It's kind of candy bar that you pour into a bowl. I studied macrobiotics when I was in my early 20s. I apprenticed with somebody who was cooking for people who had a variety of conditions. The guys in the AIDS group or whatever they wanted to call it, HIV positive group, and the guys in the cancer group. And I saw a lot of people do very well, not going the Western medical route. So that opened my mind a little bit. I had been studying nutrition. I kept studying nutrition. I just always was interested in food and energy. There was a book by Steve Gagne called Energetics of Food. The version from the early 90s was very interesting to me. Healing with Whole Foods by Paul Pitchford is, I think, a wonderful book that I recommend to a lot of people. You can study biology and nutrition from so many points of view. You can go Eastern, go macrobiotic, Chinese medicine, 5 energy theory, Ayurvedic with the three Vata, Pada, Kapha, Vata, pita bread, Subway sand. I can't remember. Anyway, you have the 3 doshas, and you can look at things that way. And these are all sort of poetical ways to look at things, and they have value. I mean, they actually have real value. I like Chinese 5 energy theory better than the Ayurvedic 3 system, which they always combine anyway. They always combine the 3, one with another. You can look at it from straight Western reductionist, how many molecules of, how many cc's, how many milligrams of do you have, and what is that interacting with? And you can think that you know what you're talking about because you get a little tiny sample of something from something in a glass jar, or that you suck it out of somebody and you think that you know what's happening. Of course you don't. The body is complex. We have a basic idea of how things should go, and then there seem to be mysteries. But the pain my friend was having did seem to be occurring on the right side. It occurred beneath, in and around the kidney, beneath maybe where the liver might be, in the front, where the liver might be, gallbladder might be. There was no sign or symptom, there remains no sign or symptom of a kidney infection or bleeding from the kidney or a stone passing from a jagged little rock passing through the kidney. So we wondered if there was something clogging the gallbladder, given the way that the nausea came about after eating. That was our concern. So she's done a fast and a gallbladder cleanse with an accompanying fast to remove the offensive foods and to increase things that will reduce inflammation and excessive production of it's not really excessive production of bile. So let me tell you where I am. I said I was going to be back in 12 hours. Well, it's only been about 7. And I've taken my first dose of this stomach-churning Epsom salt with, which is magnesium and I think sulfate, which is sulfured magnesium perhaps. And it is a stomach disruptor. Magnesium has relaxing qualities. In muscle tissue, it tends to relax the body, but it is certainly not doing that to my stomach. This form of it is not making me feel very happy. There's some belching going on and some aching, and I'm not sure I'll get through the entire second glass. I'll dilute it with water and see how far I get. I'm not a stickler for self-punishment. I never think that people who write a fast or a cleanse and put it up on their webpage we shouldn't worry that this is some sort of absolute calculus, that we have to figure out. That's rocket science, that we have to figure out exactly where the ship has to be pointing and how strong its thrust will be when it gets to a certain point in the atmosphere of course, near the dome of the top of the flat Earth, of course, near the 32-mile sun, if you're on that particular wavelength, or for the rest of us into the atmosphere, before it goes out of the ionosphere, troposphere, and into space. Okay, that's rocket science. The stuff that goes on the web about a fast, you really have a lot more to learn about food and about digestion and about healing and about what makes the body work than just trusting a website. Nevertheless, I'm trying it. I didn't fast during the day. I ate much less than I usually do. I ate a meal that was primarily green vegetables. No. Primarily soft potatoes that I'd cooked for quite a while so they would digest quickly. The more you cook it, the further it falls apart, the more accessible the little tiny pieces of remaining carbohydrates are. A little bit of protein, some minerals. Cooking is good for your food, as opposed to the raw foodists who think that cooking is murder. It's not. It changes food energetically. You're adding plasma. You're adding fire to it. So you're changing the nature of it a little. You're making things that are inaccessible to your digestive system accessible. You're taking apart tightly wound, stalky, dry, indigestible. The cellulose probably remains cellulose, but you're taking very complex carbohydrates and decoupling them through the continued presence of heat through flame. Of course, you can cook on electric or a microwave, but I think that both of those are really inferior to flame and cooking, with water in the pot, because flame is natural. It's a plasma element. I think that speaks well of it. Microwaves jiggle the water molecule hundreds of times a second. Because water is a polar molecule, plus minus, and it just shakes it. That's not the way normal cooking occurs, and I think that our general health is declined in the era of the microwave. So I did what I said in the first bit I said I was going to take the Epsom salt and the grapefruit juice. The grapefruit juice, the acidic and sour being meant to stimulate expulsion of liquid in the liver, to stimulate activity in the liver overall. The same with apple or malic acid or juice. Now, all the websites that promote this say the malic acid should soften, from apples, should soften gallstones. The problem with that notion, as is pointed out on some of the skeptic blogs, which are all run by hideous psychopaths, by the way, but every once in a while, a broken Nazi clock gets the time right twice a day, is just as well as any other clock. The problem with that is that it's difficult to see how the malic acid would penetrate the little closed body of the gallbladder to soften stones. So it's more likely that the apple juice simply has the sour quality of the apple juice and the malic acid simply stimulate a great deal of liver activity and enzyme activity. Makes more sense. Hard to say that drinking a little bit of stuff is going to soften hard gallstones. But maybe people think that because of what people photograph when they take pictures of their gallstones. Well, let's just review for a second. What's a gallbladder? From the Nazi Institute of Health at nih.gov. How does the gallbladder work? The gallbladder is a thin-walled, pear-shaped pouch. It's about 2.5 to 4 inches long. Insert your own joke here. Up to 5 centimeters, up to about 2 inches across at its widest point. Not as bad as the 2.5 inches long. And is located... sorry if you're out there with that. You know what? Somebody's going to love you. That's all I'm going to say. Somebody's going to love you for who you are, deep down. You're going to have to share her with somebody with a big penis. But no. I'm back to the gallbladder. And that's okay. It's okay. There's a lot of love in that. It's okay. You can do it. Is located in an indentation under the liver. Did I say this is the Liam Scheff show? Did I? Yeah. Parental guidance suggested. The gallbladder stores and concentrates bile from the Republicans. No, from the liver. Sorry. The bile then helps to digest and absorb fats from food in the duodenum. The duodenum, or duodenum, is the first section of the small intestine. So your stomach opens. Your stomach is whatever shape a stomach is. It's not a pear. It's like a kidney, and it drops into your small intestine, which is long, very, 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 very long, and curls around a lot. It's just called small intestine because it's smaller than the thicker, wider, large intestine. Insert your large intestine joke here. So the first section of that curls under the stomach is called the duodenum, from the character Duala from Battlestar Galactica. That's how it got named. It's a fact. It's science. Every day the cells of the liver produce 800... I don't care about that. Every day the liver produces bile. So the bile is produced in the liver. That's good to know. The liver cells pass the bile through the canals, through small canals. So there's a little diagram. You have the liver here, and then you have canals reaching in all the way to the liver, like little river, into the liver, like rivers, pouring down into the gallbladder. So that accumulates in the gallbladder, which stores bile, but it also matures the bile in a way. You should know that. It's not exactly the same stuff. The bile produced by the liver flows into the small intestine during a meal. Between meals, when there is no fat that needs to be digested, most of the bile flows into the gallbladder instead, where it is concentrated and stored. So the gallbladder holds a couple ounces to a couple and a half of bile. When we eat fatty foods, the gallbladder contracts and squeezes bile through the bile duct bit by bit. The bile is mixed into the semi-digested food in the duodenum, named after Duala from Battlestar Galactica. Bile is mainly made up of water, but also has bile salts, cholesterol, certain fats, lecithin, emulsifiers, and bile pigments in it. The most important bile pigment, bilirubin, is made when old red blood cells are broken down in the liver. It is bilirubin that makes urine yellow and stool brown. Old brown stool. I think that was a Beatles song. Bile salts break down larger fat globules, blah, 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 blah. Smaller fat droplets are easier for the digestive enzymes, the pancreas, Okay, bile salts also help the cells of the intestine absorb these broken down fats. You need the bile to break large fat globules into small fat globules. Now, the reason the medical Nazi scientists and reductionists and the psychopaths think you don't need a gallbladder, and that if you have any problems or pain at all, you should just tear it out, or suck it out is what they do now, is because they're mentally ill. But it's because the liver produces the bile and the gallbladder stores it. The gallbladder matures bile in a certain way. I think there's something about the interior surface and an osmotic or an ionic exchange, something like that. In any case, you have this thing and it stores the bile that's dripping down all the time from the liver. And if you don't have it, you just drip bile into your intestines all the time, which can make you nauseous or have diarrhea. So it's not like the gallbladder has no purpose. Ripping it out when there's pain seems like an easy thing to do, but maybe doing a change of diet. For example, going on something like a Southeast Asian diet, which is consisting mainly of broths in which the food is cooked. So you're not eating dry, hard things that force your body to into very difficult digestion, into constantly pulling moisture into your intestines and into your stomach to digest hard, cantankerous little pieces of baked, carbonized, carcinogenic grit, but rather having everything in a warm broth so that your capillaries open, your digestive juices are flowing, and everything is met in happiness rather than protest. So the Western diet, the European diet, is the Northern European diet, which is considered the American diet. Bread, butter, what else? Big pieces of meat. Everything carbonized and roasted. This is hard on the digestion. The Southeast Asian diet, where everything is cooked into a kind of liquid, a dal, a broth, dal, D-A-L, not like Hello Dolly, but or a little rag doll or a Barbie or anything like that, but rather a soupy mixture, or what we might call a stew, but it's not really a stew, what we'd call beans, but not the kind of beans that you drain all the liquid out of to serve, but rather soaking in their liquid and so cooked that they've broken down and are even more digestible. The more you cook, the more easy it is to digest something. The more you cook it, the more broken down it is, the more easy it is to digest something. Some things are raw, and you can eat them raw, and you can get nutrients out of them that are destroyed in cooking. So both raw and cooked food have value. Okay, back to the gallbladder cleanse. The online health people point out that it's going to be difficult to get malic acid from the apples into this gallbladder. Well, how could it happen? Well, I suppose you could make an argument that you're digesting it and somehow it survives and goes in the liver and then drips into the bile, which softens stuff, but not really in, a 12-hour period. It would be better to be eating things that softened stones, if that really happens, or to not produce so many stones. So if gallstones are primarily made of cholesterol rather than mineral accumulations, then we want to reduce cholesterol a little bit. So you can reduce cholesterol a little bit. You don't have to get rid of all saturated fats, but then again, you don't have to be a paleo person and think that saturated fats are all that you need to survive, and that's the key to health. The internet goes out of its way to make an argument that doing this gallbladder cleanse will most definitely move stones from your body. The problem is the pictures that it shows and the people who do it expel these green, soft stones. And the people at the Nazi web pages like Quackwatch, make pretty good hay with this. Quackwatch is an organization run by Eva Braun that wants everybody to die in a swarm of DDT, insecticide, and things like that. They hate everything. They hate massages. They hate massage therapy. They hate any kind of colon hydrotherapy. They hate feng shui. They hate, foot rubbing. They hate anything. They hate macrobiotics. They hate vegetarian. They hate everything. They absolutely hate everything. Go to Quackwatch and just go down their hate list. They hate alternative cancer treatments. So they hate, even though Marie Curie, Madame Curie and her husband both died of radiation poisoning, they love radiation. They love radiation poisoning. They want everybody to be poisoned by radiation because it's approved of right now. So all they loved is approved of Nazi medical current science, and that's where we live. So, of course, they hate gallbladder cleanses, but it's instructive to look up gallbladder cleanses on Quackwatch, because when you do, you'll realize they have very little to complain about. And by the end, they say it's not harmful, and it probably won't do you any good, but it's not harmful. Along the way, they'll tell you that you might get some stones out. Oh, not that many, and you'll probably make more. Nevertheless, they'll tell you that you'll get stones out. So that's their major beef, They want you to undergo some sort of vibrational therapy, which can disrupt stones in your gallbladder, which is dangerous and can tear your flesh apart, of course, and rupture your gallbladder and the ducts, the venous, the veins essentially carrying the little tubes carrying the fluid. They want you to do that instead. So they have their page, Quackwatch, the truth. Why don't they just say our opinion? Because that is what they mean. Our opinion about gallbladder and liver flushes. They have to put flushes in quotation marks because they want you to know that they hate everything. Okay, so they make a point. They make a point, though, that I have to maybe give them, along with some of the other people who doubt the pure veracity of everything that's on the internet about gallbladder cleanses. A lot of people do these things and they produce a lot of these little stones, or they say they're stones. They take pictures of them. They're bright green. Well, bile is green, bright green. You're taking in a lot of olive oil when you're doing this. You're mixing it with the magnesium and salts. They argue that what's happening is that the oil is saponifying, is becoming slightly harder, and forming into little coagulate beads. And when you look at the pictures of what people expel from their bowels after an olive oil flush with magnesium salts, you see a lot of stuff. It's globular. It doesn't look very hard. And so it's difficult to know exactly. And they can cut it sometimes, very easily, barely with a knife. They can sometimes just pinch it apart. That's what you get sometimes. But sometimes it's not what you get. Sometimes you get hard stones that have an angular feature to them, and those also come out. Or you get sand, essentially very hard, sandy things. You also have very active conversations on the web about this, and people say, look, I'm not doing these cleanses with olive oil, I'm doing it with Epsom salts, apple cider vinegar, and turmeric juice or broth or something like that, so I'm not using any fat, so what exactly am I coagulating? They're saying I'm getting very hard, sandy, excretions. So it seems that if you put a lot of this kind of stuff through yourself, the Epsom salt, citrus, apple, the sour, the liver-stimulating sours and bitters, that you're going to stimulate a lot of liver activity. That's going to dump a lot of bile into the gallbladder. The gallbladder is going to release when you plunge it with the oil. It's going to see the oil passing into the duodenum, named after a Battlestar Galactica character. It's a fact. It's science. And the oil's going to, the cellular messengers are going to say, oil coming, release all your bile, and a lot of stuff's going to come out. The Epsom salt is going to dilate the little channels more. In other words, they're going to open a little bit wider, and you're going to flush something. So, Quackwatch, isn't calling anybody a Holocaust denialist for doing it, which means that they can't really make much hay with it, which means there's no real money in the other side. There's no real money in. There's nothing on the other side that's like a good flush. There's no approved of flush. What they do otherwise is they cut you open, or they make a little hole, and they put in a laparoscope, a little tube, and they don't cauterize it, but they probably tie a little. It's like when you're making a gelding or something like that. I haven't looked up the process, but I imagine that it's like making a gelding. They put a little wrap around the duct, and they extrude, they cut and pull the gallbladder out in one, holding it tight so it doesn't spill the bile into your open cavity. And then they just patch up the hole, and they consider that successful because they haven't actually had to open you very far. So this is now what they do, and I read a statistic which may be made up, but I read that, gallbladder ectomies have increased some, 40% since the laparoscope was brought into it, because it's much faster. It's an outpatient procedure. You can go in the morning and leave, a number of hours later, or even less, even fewer, if there are no complications, and usually there aren't, because they're just poking a hole in, they're not cauterizing, that means they're burning it. They're probably tying it off with something. I guess I could look up the method, but you get the idea. So the gallbladder ectomy then means that you're not going to have a place to store your bile between meals, which means bile is constantly going to flow into your intestines, and you're going to have more diarrhea. You're going to have different digestion. You may not digest fats as well because you're not going to have a storage place for it. You're only going to get a very little amount of bile for every meal. You'll probably have to eat much smaller meals at a more regular interval, and you probably won't be able to handle a meal above a certain number of, a volume, I would say, a volume of food in your intestine and stomach. So it's not like taking out the gallbladder has no effects. In fact, you can look up and you can see, even in the medical literature, that people have continued complaints. They have the same pains, and the same interruption of, health that they had before they had the gallbladder taken out, after they had it removed. So here I am. I've got the Epsom salt grapefruit juice in my belly. It's burning a little. It's not a great feeling. I'm iffy about the second dose of this, but I think I'll just do a half or maybe none. Maybe I'll do the oil bit a little bit early. We'll see. I've lost a little faith that the thing is exactly what it says on the blogs that say it's a great, great flush. I tend to be very resistant to dramatic flushes or fasts. I think that we should be eating in a way on a regular basis that is going to promote the fewest complications and the best overall results. That way of eating would be something like a Southeast Asian diet. Very low in the food chain, a lot of vegetables, the proteins coming in the form of small beans that are very easy to digest and easy to cook, a lot of roots, a lot of greens, some fruit. And if you're going to eat animals, it's going to be lower in the food chain. You're not going to be eating very, very large animals that take a long time to grow, that bioaccumulate a great deal of toxin. You're not going to be overeating protein. You're talking about people with a slimmer build, less muscle tissue, but really healthier, longer lifespans, who age better, who don't wrinkle and fall apart in quite the same way as the heavy meat eaters of Central and Northern Europe, Russia. So I tend to favor the Southeast Asian diet, tracking parts of Africa, Southeast Asia, India, Thai, everything south of Hong Kong. Of course, you may disagree. You may be a Weston A. Pricer, and you may say that you're allergic to all of those things. You can't eat any of those things but the greens and some of the vegetables, and you need meat because you can't digest grain. I'd suggest, going around the world and, trying different complex carbohydrates rather than, going around the world market, you don't actually have to travel, and trying the different complex carbohydrates that people in many parts of the world have used to get their calories. You're listening to the Liam Scheff Show. I'm in the first quarter or third of this gallbladder cleanse. I'm going to have another glass of this Epsom salt grapefruit juice mixture. When I go to bed in 4 or 5 hours, I'll have the next glass in about 2 hours, and then I'll go to bed and I'll do the olive oil. I'll slug down the olive oil, and I think that's mixed also with grapefruit. I will do that, and I'm supposed to lay on my side and feel the oil penetrating, sliding, I suppose. I'm supposed to feel some activity in the gallbladder. I'm supposed to feel perhaps some activity in the liver if I can. And I will won't be able to tell you tonight if that's happening. I will tell you tomorrow. I will be back, though, after my second dose with some more thoughts on the gallbladder fast and cleanse and the rest of it. Quick word about Quackwatch, though. If I have to give them one thing for noting that maybe they're more soapstones than anything else, the rest of their page is just pure Nazi science. Everything is fake. Acupuncture is fake. AIDS-related quackery and fraud. Well, I'm sorry. The AIDS industry is quackery and fraud. Algae products. Yes, seaweed is fake. It's hype, even though it's mineral rich before all the oceans were polluted, and safe to eat before all the oceans were polluted. And now, of course, it's all poison. But before that, of course, it was fine. But now it's all poison. But they're just saying it's all bad. False claims and hype. Just go down the list. Alternative medicine is science versus alternative methods. Science. Modern science is the business of funding the result that you think you want and barring all other results. That's all it is. That's all it is. Ayurvedic, mumbo-jumbo, bioidentical hormones, cancer, questionable therapies. It goes on and on and on. Candida, apparently, and yeast allergies are apparently fake, too. Colloidal minerals is fake. Colloidal silver is fake. Of course, it doesn't matter that you can do actually technical studies with colloidal silver and see how silver ions bind with carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, so they will disable bacteria. No, don't worry about that. Mercury toxicity scam. Yes, mercury is good for you, and in fact, at Quackwatch, they drink it regularly. You get the idea. modern science is just I don't know, it's the wheelhouse of scoundrels. It's really, it belongs to Nazi science, and it's a mess. Still, when you go into the alternative, you have to look carefully and try things out. Remember, non credo, I do not believe. You have to try. You're listening to the Liam Scheff Show. We'll be back in a few hours. But a minute, a second. Welcome to Hour 2 of the Liam Scheff Show. I'm your host, Liam. Oh, my stomach hurts. I failed the gallbladder flush. There's no way around saying it. I just will say it. I absolutely failed it. So I was doing okay. I followed their instructions to a reasonable degree without adjusting too many things or variables. I'd been reading about it extensively. And I drank the Epsom salt, and then I went to the second batch, and no. The answer was no. It hurt. My stomach started to hurt, and I wasn't going to sit around with pain in my stomach all night, so I ate a lot of greens, and then I put a carrot and an apple in the blender, and I drank that down to just sort of sop up whatever the hell was going on in there. And then, having failed, I cooked I cooked like 5 or 6 little Brussels sprouts, and I had those with some olive oil, because what the fuck? If you're going to fail with Brussels sprouts. In the first hour, I talked about how I was going to walk you through this gallbladder cleanse, and I have to admit I'm feeling slightly shamefaced because I just didn't do it because it hurt, and now you know I don't like my stomach to hurt. I've also been reading online about all the things that are supposedly gallbladder stones, and they really are. Most of the green stuff looks like saponified bile-laden oil, but people do get stones out. So I want to read to you more about gallbladder, and I want to apologize to anybody who was following me all the way through. I'm going to read some pros and cons, and I might try it again. I really don't believe in hard, fast, dramatic changes of diet, unless you're having an absolute emergency, in which case you're really going to go on a juice fast, essentially, to get nutrients into yourself when your stomach's really rejecting, for a variety of reasons, rejecting everything else. So a juice fast is a safe way to get nutrients to yourself. Now, if you can handle a little bit of digestion, the fiber is really important. So I tend to recommend that people just put things through blenders. I don't think you need a Vitamix. I bought one and gave it to a friend because it's like a helicopter inside of a glass bowl or whatever, plexiglass bowl. It's too strong. I think you're beating up the food. I think you're cracking too much of the cell in too many directions, and I don't think that food likes to be violently moved around that quickly. So, Vitamix, not really my thing. Blenders are fast, they're not exactly natural, but you can beat up a carrot, an apple, a beet, ginger, etc., and get it into a kind of an applesaucey mush without running it for more than, 45 seconds. And you can eat that and strain the juice with your teeth and eat the pulp. The pulp goes down through your intestine and, acts, of course, as a fibrous mass pulling along garbage and pulling it out your Uranus, really, near Neptune. And that's good. It also acts as a little raft for the bacteria to host themselves on, and you gain little good bacteria as they eat away at those cellulose fibers, or try to, mostly failing. But they'll find some of the remaining sugars and carbohydrates in there, and that's good. So fiber is really important. It goes all the way through, and that's the way that you clean your silly straw that curves in all directions. So I failed. I'm not above saying it. I hit the hard deck. I flamed out. My stomach hurt in a way that I wasn't enjoying, and I decided to put out the fire of Epsom salt angst. And I still, believe me, feel more of it than I want to. I didn't enjoy it. I think I'm going to take magnesium as a supplement, not as Epsom salt. I really like magnesium supplements. They're very relaxing, but I just didn't enjoy this. I'm going to be eating more liver-friendly, gallbladder-friendly foods. I'm going to be reducing the saturated fats that I do eat, Brazil nuts, coconut, etc. I really got into eating those after, sort of the movement went around that those were unjustly maligned to some degree, and to some degree they were. and to another degree, it's good to to take saturated fats moderately. I don't care what the paleo people say. It's good to take saturated fats moderately because they're sticky. They're very, very, very sticky, and they don't form flexible cell walls. You can use some of them for energy, and some of them are just, frankly, corrosive. Okay. Write your letters of complaint to me. I'm on Facebook. Unfortunately, you can go to Facebook, which I wish weren't a CIA, Harvard University, I don't know, Siamese twin or what. Sorry if that's not politically correct, but you know what I mean. Sort of a bastard, hideous stepchild of both of those organizations. But it is. Thank you, Zuckerberg. Thank you, CIA. Thank you, FBI. Anyway, I'm there. You can find me. I've got a couple. One is for my book, Official Stories. One is for the oil alarm. One is for me. One is for the other me, which is the me that's the private me that you can sort of friend. And the other is the public me, the author, who is secretly Bruce Wayne, by the way. Digestive Disorders Health Center, more pictures of the gallbladder. That's what I've been reading. I'm just going to take you through the web pages I've been reading. The duodenum, also known as the duodecadactylum, is the first section of the small intestine in most higher vertebrates. Well, you can just close that page because that doesn't apply to any scientist. Okay, get rid of looking at that. Liver and gallbladder cleanse to health with that. Read that page. Gallbladder cleanse. Same stuff. This one wants you to drink 6 liters of apple juice over 6 days to soften the whatever. May have bloating and diarrhea. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think you need 6 liters of apple juice. I think you can take apple cider vinegar on a regular basis. By the way, those of you who think apple cider vinegar is good for you, you're right. Those of you who put it in the cap and swig it back, it's not even making it to your stomach. You're losing most of it down your throat and in your mouth. Mix it with water. Dilute it so you can get it into your intestine and let it get to your liver better. So don't just take a cap. I went to a lady, nice lady, interesting lady. She said it's good for you, and she take a capful and swig it. And I thought, it's not. That's it's like smoking and not inhaling. You're not doing anything, so don't worry about that. How does the gallbladder work? I read to you some of this already from the Nazi Institute of Health. I was looking up good fats, by the way, because you have to figure out what fats are good. There's a liversupport.com is an actual website. That's the one I was going to choose. Besides Liam Scheff, it was going to be liversupport.com, but I just didn't have enough to say about it. Choosing to eat an avocado is an ideal choice for people with liver health concerns, although the soft, yellow-green, creamy flesh of an avocado is loaded with different kinds of health benefits. Say health again. Its healthful fats, anti-inflammatory, and antioxidant properties make this fruit a superstar to anyone working towards defending a compromised liver. Goes on and on and on, and it's cardiovascular, good for the eyes. Contains lutein and zeaxanthin. I don't know what that is. Carotenoids that protect the eyes from age-related problems. So if an old person is looking at you, I guess, and it's bothering you, I guess eat an avocado. Immune system support, vitamin B6, blah 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 blah. Vitamin C, good. Liver maintenance. Also good fats, some saturated fats, but yes, I like avocados. They're tropical, semi-tropical fruit, really, so those of us eating them all over the country where they don't grow, get used to not doing that soon. I looked up Rainbow Light Magnesium Calcium Plus tablets, 180 on Amazon.com for $19 and change, because I was looking at ways to get more magnesium in my diet. You can also eat more natural foods. Got the permaculture page open because I'm always looking there for where I'm going to learn how to build duck ponds. Here's a page I was reading on everydayhealth.com, digestive problems after gallbladder surgery. Well, it's not common. Some people may experience digestive issues after gallbladder surgery. In fact, I'd say that it's entirely common. Here, this is the one I wanted to get to. So, I failed the overnight gallbladder thing, and I'm not just going to sort of limp it in. I mean, I failed it, so I'm not going to drink that cup of olive oil at midnight, or maybe I will just for the hell of it, but I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to say I'm not going to do it, and if I change my mind, I will, and I'll talk about it next week. So here's something from a girl who looks like a druid, and Catherine Doran Fisher is a traditional naturopathic doctor, certified GAPS practitioner, and co-owner of Elder and Sage. So here we are. I hope she is from the UK. I just hope she is, because she looks like a druid. I really hate it when I find out that something I was taught, something I believed to be true, and this is again at elderandsage.com, the myth of the liver gallbladder flush. Now let me say, I don't think it's a myth to clean your liver and gallbladder. I don't think it's a myth at all. I think coffee enemas work, and I'll read an article on that later about how they stimulate the liver to produce more activity and more of the enzymes, and to dump essentially more of its material being stimulated by caffeine and a number of other components in coffee. And I will read that article so that you can hear that too. I think that diet is excessively, incredibly important. We don't run on our food. Our food becomes us. Unlike a car where you put gasoline in and it just burns into nothing, we take food in and then we build ourselves out of it. Some of it we use for energy, but a lot of it we use for raw building materials. That is where we get our raw building materials, besides the polluted chemtrail-laden air where we breathe, which of course the Nazi Institutes of Health don't believe in. But there are chemtrails you just have to look up on any particular day in most of the country. So it's not that I don't believe in these things, it's that my stomach hurt when I had the second cup of, and I don't mean it hurt like, I mean it hurt like, God, that burns. Okay, that's that. I'm not spending a whole night with a burning stomach just so I can have diarrhea in the morning. I can do that on my own, thank you very much. How is my business? So I want to pass on my new discovery, writes the author, Catherine Doran Fisher. I want to pass on my new discovery to you so we can dispel this myth and hopefully move on. Are you ready? The liver gallbladder flush does not get rid of gallstones. She writes, well, I don't think that's exactly true because I'm commenting. It's my show. I'm going to say I don't think it's exactly true because when you dilate the vessels in the body, including the biliary ducts, you hold them open and you flood the thing with all the things that cause you put oil in and you cause the gallbladder to expel. You're going to get stuff out of it. So I don't believe that there's not going to be stuff. I've also found many, call it anecdotal if you like, but I found many people saying, yeah, I did it, and then I had another ultrasound, and there were there were fewer gallstones. So of course they got something out. Now let's listen to her say, "It doesn't work. Bummer, right? I know. So all those times I forced myself to gag down 9 ounces of salad dressing were for nothing." No, I don't think so, Catherine Ann the Druid. I'm a little depressed right now, she writes. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, the liver gallbladder flush is a recipe designed to, let's use the word flush again, the liver and gallbladder to remove stones and cleanse, say, the liver again. There are many different versions, but the one I'm most familiar with includes 3 ounces. I used much more fresh squeezed or freshly squeezed? How do you favor the adverb in that? Okay, fresh. I'm going to say freshly squeezed because it would be fresh, comma, squeezed. You know? Fresh, comma, squeezed would be describing the lemon, and freshly squeezed would be describing the squeezing. So are you describing the squeezing or the lemon? 3 ounces or more of fresh squeezed lemon juice, 3 ounces of extra virgin olive oil. Sorry, I'm just thinking about how that works. 3 ounces of grapefruit or pineapple juice blended together. Well, I should have had pineapple juice. That would have made everything work. You're supposed to drink this concoction every morning for 5 days in a row? Balls. Really? I certainly didn't do that. Let me look at that again. 3 ounces every morning of olive oil, grapefruit, and... Oh, I could do that. That doesn't bother me at all. That doesn't bug me. At least there's no Epsom salt. Then you wait a month and do 5 more days. Wait a month and 5 more days, often to try to coincide the flush with a waning moon cycle for added effect. I said she looked like a druid, and now she's talking about moon cycles. Am I ever wrong? Sometimes. Now, to be fair, there should be a comma there. Grapefruit juice, pineapple juice, lemon juice, and olive oil can all be excellent for your liver. Thank you. Digestion and general health when consumed on a regular basis. But there's really no need to force down 9 ounces of it all at once. Those who have tried report seeing something like this in their stool. Now there's a photo. It's again at elderandsage.com, Catherine the Druid, the myth of the liver gallbladder flush. Well, I don't think it's a total myth, by the way. She admits, her high elfin hobbit queen admits that that all of these things are good at motivating the liver to expel and to be active. So that's not a myth. And maybe taking them all at once is, strong medicine. Maybe it's just strong medicine. Well, those little green pebbles must be gallstones. Success. Wow. But no, this is olive oil soap, she writes. Analysis of one group of past gallstones revealed they consisted of 75% fatty acids and contained no cholesterol, bilirubin, or calcium. Balls. Further experimentation suggested the spheroids were soapstones created by the interaction of digestive enzymes with certain components of olive oil and lemon juice. God damn it, you made soap in your stomach. So yeah, those little stones are created by the interaction between olive oil, lemon juice, and your own enzymes, not from gallbladder releasing gallstones. These are gallstones. Now is a picture of toothy, hard, absolutely rock-like, tan, 1, 2, 3 tetrahedron, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 octahedrons, something like that. Anyway, many sizes. So there's a picture of gallstones. As it turns out, it's not quite easy to get rid of them. If you're feeling a little chagrined right now, don't feel too bad. The recipe has been around a long time, and many herbalists and natural health advocates have long been using it. Some people have even reported benefits from using this therapy, such as reduction in pain and indigestion. So you really need a comma in there. You can't just say so there. Such as a reduction in pain and indigestion. So apparently they are either just deluding themselves, no, or it does still work, just not the way they thought it did. No, it may not. Catherine, you took a picture, and you're comparing two pictures. The one is clearly the soap stuff, but you're not looking at every picture of everybody's butt effluence from a gallbladder flush, so you're jumping to conclusions, elf and queen. There are a couple of natural ways to get rid of gallstones and cleanse the liver that might be a little easier. Holy shit. To swallow, pun intended? If you ever say pun intended, you are banished from this planet. You never, ever. I once knew a girl who would always say something and then she would say pun intended. All I thought was, bitch, your joke wasn't funny. Then you told me that you intended it to be funny. It was not funny twice. Make the joke and move on. Make the joke and move on. It may be a little less impressive than those bright green pebbles, but as long as you're okay with that, you might want to give one of these a try. Choleretics and cholagogues, looks like cola from the root word for cholesterol, kind of fat. Choleretics, cholagogues, like cholesterol. These are herbs that increase the production and flow of bile, such as barberry, Berberis vulgaris, vulgar Berber, burdock, yes, burdock root, old macrobiotic standby. She, for some reason, puts the Latin names because she's a druid. Dandelion. Did you want the Latin name for burdock? Arcturium lapa. Dandelion. Taraxocum officinale. Golden seal. Hydrastic canadensis. Thank you, said the Latin class in Mrs. McGillicuddy's Latin homeroom. Milk thistle, Silbium marianum, and Oregon grape, Berberis aquifolium. Taking one of these herbs as a supplement for 30 to 60 days may improve liver function and reduce stones. Again, barberry, burdock, dandelion, golden seal, milk thistle, and Oregon grape. Pretty easy to do. One more time, barberry, burdock, dandelion, dandelion, golden seal. Do you know what dandelion means? Milk thistle and Oregon grape. Think about it in French. Terpenes. I feel like it's the Bruce Jenner story. Terpenes. I don't know. Terpenes are organic compounds found in essential oils of most plants. I think it's terpenes. Have been shown to keep crystals from forming in the gallbladder and may even dissolve existing stones. Menthol is a terpene from peppermint. Mentha ex piperita. Thank you for the Latin. That has been studied for its effects on gallstones. Enteric coated peppermint oil may be a useful application for this, though caution should be used, she says. Linking. Well, we're gonna have to. Oh, the warning is about ingesting essential oils. Well, fuck off. You can ingest them if you want to. Try a little bit, very little bit. Try a little, just a little bit. Give a little bit of your love to try it. Sorry to burst anyone's bubble, says the Druid Queen, but natural health practitioners come under enough criticism as it is. We don't need to keep perpetuating ideas when they have been proven to be false. I don't think it's been proven to be false. I think you took one study that said that the big green things were soap that was made in the gut. Okay, I buy that, but people also get sandy grit out of their a-holes after doing these things. So, Elf and Queen, be more careful. So I won't be recommending this anymore, and I hope word gets out there before anyone else has their appetite for homemade salad dressing ruined. Ugh, just smelling it makes me shudder. To your health, Catherine, the elf and dwarf hobbit queen of Hobbiton and Leeds. Elder and Sage, herbs and natural remedies. I hope they're in England. If they're not in England, I'm not going to feel all right about this. Let me just look to see if they're in England, because if they're not, she just looks so British. I mean, if you could see her face is so... Well, that's a much prettier picture, so I don't know why that one's not on the one with her looking like a druid. She's probably from Ohio. Catherine Dornbisher received a trade. Listen, I like her. I think that she was good to point that shit out in the article. I'm not angry with her. I'm not upset with her. I don't have any negative feelings about her, but I just don't think it's exactly right that it's proven to be false. I think it's demonstrated to be... graduated from her 4-year program at a certified naturopath, 2005. Catherine then passed an examination. America. Go to England. You belong in England. You're Queen of the Druids. You are. I'm not making fun of you. Well, not in a bad way. Okay. Queen of the Druids. Go visit her. Listen, I like her page. I do. I just don't think it's totally fraud. But again, I think that it's important that she did quote this study that says that when this person got this stuff out of their butthole, it was soap. Honestly, it was... This is it's funny to you. Pun intended. This is Liam Scheff Show on UCY TV and Truth Frequency Radio. Let's move on to the next topic. Well, I don't know what can salvage this. My total abysmal failure. My total failure to follow through. But I don't believe in following through when things just hurt so much. It's not supposed to hurt. I tend not to believe in very, very dramatic cleanses. That said, if you're having a health emergency, one of the best things you can do is cut out almost all foods except, I think, very easy to digest things. If you can tolerate potatoes or sweet potatoes, turnips, any root vegetable, rutabagas, and just cook them for a long time and make them soupy, you can drink that down and get nutrients. If you can juice... And if you can't tolerate any fiber at all, then you juice. And if you can tolerate fiber, you blend. And if you can chew, you eat salad greens and oils. And, you start in this simple place. It is a little challenging to digest grains, but it's not terribly challenging to digest grains unless you have a pretty damaged digestion. So most people can digest grains, and there are a variety of grains. It's not just supermarket wheat that we're talking about. Not just the kind of fake wheat that goes into the crust of the Swanson or Hungry Man dinner. I mean, this is why people have so many allergies, because we've eaten so many terrible things and been injected with so many terrible things. But it's not impossible to be able to eat good foods if you have good digestion. But we're all trained to eat things that are unhealthy, and eventually we build up an excess. No, not the band with the guy who masturbated himself and died. No, that's so sad that you would bring that up. Honestly, it's an 80s band, and I'm sorry to bring that up. It happened. I'm sorry. Everybody down on your knees. Hey, they were fun. Okay, just moving on. Pun intended. I'm just going to say that every time I say anything from now. Pun intended. Worst thing to say. Pun intended. God damn it. It's in my head. I can't get it out now. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, my stomach is hurting. Right. I don't remember. Oh yeah. A lot of people think they can't eat grains at all, but you might be able to eat millet, or you might be able to eat quinoa, or you might be able to eat something or another. And I'm really sorry for that terrible excess joke. But he did masturbate himself to death. It's true, it's a fact. Look it up, it's science. I'm sorry, he's probably... Did he have kids? I'm sorry, I'm on such a tangent. I'm sorry, I can't. Now I feel bad because I don't want you to think about this poor guy doing... Maybe he was... No, he wasn't doing a gulp. Just... All right. Fuck. I'm so... There's no salvaging it. I got to get through it. Okay. Anyway, you start with the simple things. You start with juicing, and then you clean for a while. That's why when you go to the Gerson clinic and they want... I'm so sorry for that whole... I won't do it again. The whole NXS thing. I'm sorry. Duran Duran, Wham, Oingo Boingo, Flock of Seagulls. Let's see, Thompson Twins. Joe Jackson, remember Joe Jackson? You can't get what you want till you get what you want. Anyway, you can't get what you want unless you get what you want, which is when you want to cleanse, why don't you just take the shit out of your diet? That's the point of all of this. If you really want to do a cleanse, don't think about doing a 1 week or 1 month cleanse, or a month is great, but don't think about doing a very, very short cleanse. Think about improving your diet. Now, the difficult thing is my friend has a very good diet. Of course, maybe it was too rich in this or a little deficient in that. And, being in our middle years, as I am, in my mid-40s, you begin to accumulate deficits that may be small in a short range of time. And I think that that's what happens to us. That's certainly how we age. Besides I know we get older, but that's how we age a little bit badly. It's how we fall apart a little bit. We accumulate deficits, or we accumulate excesses. And this is a macrobiotic principle. Of course, quackwatch.com or whatever it is hates macrobiotics because it doesn't prescribe radiation for your face or brain. But that's, we'll just have to live with that. We're going to hit the break soon. This is a pretty disorganized ramble, but at least you got to hear from the Druid Queen. You know that a lot of the pictures of gallstones are in fact soap coming out of a butthole. Sorry, Jesus. But that's not to say that all of them are. And a lot of people are getting sand out of their buttholes and probably vaginas by doing these cleanses. Probably not the vagina. If you have sand in your vagina, please wash it out. It is good to do a cleanse as a regular quality of life. It is good to fast for most of the day, and for all of the night, and half of the day, before you get up. Fast until 10 or 11. If you really need a breakfast, go light and make it easy on your kidneys and your liver. Keep your jing, your kidney vitality alive by not weighing it down with heavy, fried, greasy, deeply contorted, frozen food abominations. Make it easy on your body to be alive and to live, and hopefully you'll run into fewer problems. That said, we age, we accumulate. There is no perfect solution. Speaking of perfect solutions, in the next quarter of the show, I want to talk about the newest thing. It's called on the market. It's called the medical intuitive. It's not called the medical intuitive. There's a guy running around, and he's a spiritual medical guy, and I just want to give a little bit of a thought to that. I can't remember what it's called, actually. He's called the medical mystic. Might be called the medical mystic. Now, this was recommended to me by a friend, somebody I like and respect. I have to tread a little carefully, because I was deeply unimpressed with his presentation, his method, and his message. I have to go to the bother of reading his book completely, and I may or may not, because if I only have negative things to say about him, I'm not going to waste that much time with him, because it's just not the kind of thing I enjoy. But he's a guy who's come out, and he's said that his way of doing natural health is different than everybody else's, because he talks to a spirit in his head, or that appears to him, a very highly ascended spirit, of course, to the right of whatever the God is that he thinks he's talking about. I think he seems to keep it pretty non-denominational, so everybody can come in through the door. It's a great scam, but there's more to it. It's not just a scam because he recommends all the natural health protocols. He mixes them up a little. He has his own take. They may or may not work, like anything may or may not work. But for some reason he has 1,600 reviews on Amazon, and I'm sort of curious to figure out why. I think he incentivizes reviews, maybe gives you something free, I'm not sure. But it's impossible to get 1,600 reviews if you're not in contact with 1,600 people who are willing to write them. So it's impressive. He's got a good PR team. You can call him and get a consultation, and in the next half of the show I'm going to tell you more about it, how to do it, and maybe how to figure out if that's true, or if that's just another story. This is Liam Scheff and the Liam Scheff Show. I failed my gallbladder cleanse, but I clean my gallbladder every day. I'm going to continue to. I'm going to continue to support my friend who's been suffering with this by trying to do all the things she's doing. Even if I fail, I'm going to try. I'm definitely going to be doing more, hold your nose, coffee enemas. I'm going to be doing more coffee enemas because I want to stimulate more production of enzymes and more sort of throwing out of crap in my liver. Not just crap, but, crap. toxic crap. You know what I'm saying. Coming up on the next half of the show, we'll explore coffee enemas a little bit, and I'll talk about this mystical medical guy, and we'll see what it's really made of. Thanks for, I'm really all over the place today. I'm sorry. My stomach hurts. It really does. It's like weird and bubbly and gurgly, and I'm not enjoying it. This is Liam Scheff Show. Stay tuned. Ouch, we're talking coffee enemas next. Welcome back to the most disorganized episode of the Liam Scheff Show ever. I failed in my bid to be a gallbladder champion. Yes, I clean my gallbladder every day, I clean my liver every day, but I wanted to do better. I thought I would try this cleanse, and my stomach hurt. And I, don't feel a great desire to cause myself a lot of pain, so I stopped. Yes, I stopped. Not quite a quitter. I just have a gurgling stomach, and I wasn't trying to impress anybody. Well, not really. I was trying to be supportive of my friend who I care about, and I wanted to go through what she was going through to see what it felt like, and it did not feel great. I believe in the importance of cleaning the internal organs, keeping them clean, but I think that really has to do with how you live your life on a regular basis. That said, no matter how clean you think you eat, we're all sprayed and injected and poisoned from one side or another. We're in America or Europe or wherever you're listening to this, and we're all being assaulted all the time with petrochemical nonsense. Okay. When I was going through this, and I suppose still am, trying to figure out how to be helpful to my friend, and not run under the knife, not run to get something taken out that would probably pass with a reduction in difficulty in digestion, and again putting in the juices and all the other stuff I've already talked about. I asked everybody I knew, and I asked one friend, I said, well, somebody whose opinion I actually, respect. She said, well, I'm really, this guy's great. You should look at him. So I looked, and I said, I think he sounds phony. I mean, it really sounds phony. And she said, well, there are too many reviews for it to be phony. I said, yeah, okay, you're right. It's not phony. It's he's playing at one thing while giving. He's playing at one thing while giving a little bit of sort of normal, standard, well understood, even Kevin Trudeau level, natural health advice, stuff that's been around and around and around. And maybe he has some insights, and maybe he doesn't, and maybe he makes some mistakes like everybody else, and maybe he knows some things. But he's got this phenomenal thing called medical medium. That's what it's called, not medical mystic. And the problem with it isn't that he the problem with it isn't that he is sort of giving natural health advice. It's not a problem. The problem is that he claims essentially to be a kind of Jesus. And the problem with that is that people are susceptible to that. Everybody's looking for a special spiritual insight. So let me let me read the description and see if it makes sense to you. Let's see, I had it right here. Oh, it's good radio, huh? I had it right here? Huh? Right, I know. That's staying in the show. Anthony William, medical medium. I'm surprised there's not a password there. A trademark symbol. Anthony William, medical medium, has helped tens of thousands of people. Really? Tens of thousands. Well, this is Jesus level stuff. This is problematic. This guy really, really works. And again, he may know some things that are okay. He may know some things that work in the sense of natural health. But hold on. Anthony William was born with a unique ability. The unique ability, there's nobody else like him. Isn't that a problem? Doesn't that break the mythometer, break the rules of physics, history, and biology? He's the only one. Aren't we geocentric now? The Earth is the center of the universe, and Anthony William is the center of the Earth. Unique ability to converse with a high-level spirit who provides him with extraordinarily accurate health information that's often far ahead of its time. Really? I mean, I mean, isn't the principle of naturopathic medicine that all the best cures are the old cures, and that nature is the wise one, not a spirit that whispers in your ear, or that the spirit really whispers in all of our ears in a way? Isn't that kind of what it is to be connected? We're all connected, and we all have our skills. But all right, whatever. Maybe he's an intuitive, but there are a lot of intuitives. I want to grant everybody that there are a lot of intuitives in one way or the other. Many of us are intuitives. Many of us have what we'd call extrasensory perception. It's not. It's electromagnetic. We're enveloped by and engaging in the electromagnetic field, and so we feel our way. But not him. He has a high-level spirit connection who provides him with extraordinarily accurate health information. It's often far ahead of its time. Well, gosh, with extraordinary claims require extraordinary... When Anthony was 4 years old, he shocked his family by announcing at the dinner table that his symptom-free grandmother had lung cancer. Medical testing soon confirmed the diagnosis. That's, if it's true, it's fascinating. He's not the only person who's ever done that. Dogs have diagnosed cancer in people. It's true. There are cancer-sniffing dogs. Maybe he, for over 25 years, as a young man then, Anthony has devoted his life to helping people overcome and prevent illness. That's nice. And discover the lives they were meant to live. It's nice, I guess. What he does is several decades ahead of scientific discovery. Wait a second. I thought it was years. A minute ago it was it was far ahead of its time. Now it's decades. So we know exactly when medicine will recognize Anthony William. It will be in 2020. I said decades. Let's give him 3. So 2048, 2046, 2049, somewhere around there. Okay? So 2049, after oil is essentially gone down to 1850 levels, sorry, we'll all know that he was correct about everything. Oh, it's okay. His compassionate approach. Look, I like compassion, which takes into account well-being on every level. Well, that sounds like a naturopath, doesn't it? I mean, doesn't that sound like a naturopath? It takes into... No? Didn't it? No? Didn't it? But what I'm... okay. I mean, a naturopath, like any good naturopath, will just take in everything and say, tell me about Anthony's unprecedented accuracy and success rate. Is there any link to, what I mean? It's a big claim. I'm just saying it's a big claim. I'm not saying he's never helped anybody. Anthony's unprecedented accuracy and success rate as the medical medium, which is a term that he invented apparently, or his PR firm invented, because he's got a PR firm working this stuff. He's got a professional webpage, professional presentation, Hay House publishing the book. He's got professionally edited and shot videos showing him looking not quite at the camera as an amateur on YouTube, but looking somewhere away in a Steve Jobs kind of photo op thing. He's, Anthony's unprecedented accuracy and success rate as the medical medium have earned him the trust and love of thousands worldwide. Yeah, among them movie stars, always the most hard critical thinkers, aren't they? Movie stars, aren't they? Rock stars, again, a group of people known for their critical thinking skills. Billionaires, nobody's ever been a suckered billion. Professional athletes, oh dear, best-selling authors, and countless other people from all walks of life. In other words, hopeful. People who are hopeful, people who are looking for something, seekers, searchers, investors, right? Investors? Okay. Who couldn't find a way to heal until he provided them with insights from spirit, capital S spirit. Oh, God. See, this is the bad thing. Do you know how many good naturopaths there are? There are many. Do you know how many good health practitioners are? There are many. Do you know how many wonderful healers there are? There are many. They just don't claim to be the only one. And this is the problem here. It's not that he doesn't ever help anybody. It's that this is the way that you know that somebody's, making them sound too important. Keep it to yourself. Oh, look, on his webpage, portraits of Anthony William. All portraits are to be used with approved publications. So they're portraits. They're not just like Facebook images. These are portraits, and that means that he's got a huge PR. He's got a lot of PR behind him. He's got portraits. It's an expensive book, $27, $450. Buy the Medical Medium book and receive $997 in valuable gifts for free. What? Sorry. who valued, who put a price point on this? There's a trailer for the book, so he's apparently got, a big thing behind him. It's everywhere: Books A Million, Amazon, UK, Waterstones, .com, Book, Barnes and Noble. It's all there. Anthony William, the one and only medical medium, shares revolutionary insight, much of which science has yet to discover. That's fine. Science isn't true. But into the reasons why we suffer and how to finally heal for more than 24 common conditions. ADHD, adrenal fatigue, autism. Autism? Really? Autoimmune disease, candida, chronic fatigue syndrome, depression and anxiety, diabetes, Epstein-Barr virus, fibromyalgia, hypothyroidism, leaky gut, lupus, Lyme, menopause, migraines, multiple sclerosis, PTSD. Listen, you can heal from multiple sclerosis. It's nerve damage. It's, you need essential fatty acids and to get the poisons out of your system. Rheumatoid arthritis, similar, vertigo and tinnitus, and more. So, his people are self-promoting gurus. I don't know who he is or why he is. I don't know the why of Anthony Williams, medical medium. I can't tell you how it all works. Okay, let's look at some of the reviews and let the readers speak for themselves. There are so many positive reviews. 1,512. That's amazing. I mean, that's on par with like an Avengers movie, just some piece of pop culture tripe. A controversial book that could save your life. Verified purchase, Eileen Crispell. I recently heard Rupert Sheldrake say, I like Rupert Sheldrake. The ability to heal is inherent in all forms of life, but I personally learned this from Anthony William. After years of not being well and having good doctors tell me they didn't know why, I found Anthony William, say his name again. What he and the spirit he hears, hold on a second. That should, maybe just make you pause, because I operate by this thing I call the mythometer. The mythometer is a very simple tool. You can carry one around with you anytime. It's an algorithm, a very advanced algorithm that goes. I know I said simple tool, but it's also a very advanced tool. Thank you very much. Welcome to the world of contradictions. That operates on accumulating all information that exists and asking the question: does it break the rules of history, biology, and physics? Well, you can take, JFK, assassination breaks the rules of physics, history. History, biology, and physics. Well, I suppose you could say that's also physics. Where the brain splatters is physics. Let's see, 9/11 breaks the rules of physics, history. HIV breaks the rules of biology. The tests don't work. The drugs are very, very poisonous. Vaccines breaks the rules of biology. Introduce a poison into the body. It doesn't heal the body. Inject it into the muscular tissue or the fat tissue, it doesn't heal the body. So the mythometer isn't adverse to anything that's controversial. It just runs it through the world of history, biology, and physics. And it certainly doesn't come up with the conventional wisdom. It just asks Jesus. Is Jesus an historical figure? Really? It breaks the rules. Is the Jesus story absolutely true? It breaks the rules of biology. It breaks the rules of, probably breaks the rules of physics in a sense. Well, biology is the real stickler, though. And it breaks the rules of history because he doesn't show up enough in history. He's not really there for the 100 and something years that he really needed to be written about, and then he shows up after that in a big way. So you can ask the mythometer any question. Now, when somebody says, I found Anthony, what he and the spirit he hears, see, we all, that's very, very personal. That's a perception that only he can verify. So you can't prove that true or false. You can't prove it true or false. So you can't really say it as a public claim. Not really. You can state it as an opinion that you think you... We all talk to ourselves all the time. We have a 3D movie theater in our heads that can remember almost anything that ever happened to us and plays things back that have never happened. We can have sex with anybody that we want to just by seeing her or him or whatever you're into during the day and going home and laying down at night and having the sex. Without it, you can travel in space. You can be David Bowie playing Moon Age Daydream on the stage with Mick Ronson on your side. You can do anything you want in your imagination. And you can't prove any of it because it's storytelling. It's imaginary. It has value psychologically. It's enjoyable. But if you say what he and the spirit he hears taught me, all right, so this person is raving, but I don't see anything here. There's nothing here about, and this is a very long review, it's probably 2 or 3 printed pages, 3 printed pages. There's nothing here about what he says. Nothing. Nothing. It's just about how great this guy is, and you have to have a beginner's mind, and, it's just, Okay, let's go to the next. Forever in Gratitude. I can't believe the negative reviews. All right, okay. This book can change your life, I honestly believe. You can begin your healing following Anthony's wisdom outlined here. Okay, that's good. I'm not upset about that. I'm appalled and saddened by the number of people here who seem to be making their mission to attack Anthony's character and integrity without even knowing him, discrediting the publisher, well, Hay House, and discourage people from buying a book that could save their lives. But listen, it's all very nice, but it's all very emotional. It's very emotional. So what are we actually talking about? I can't find any actual recommendations. And it's a book review on Amazon, and people give the whole store away in reviews. I was curious to see Lyme test, never noticed a tick bite or EM bullseye rash, so this person had Lyme. I started following the dietary suggestions to see if they would make a difference. Holy cow, in just a few weeks I pulled almost completely out of the brain fog fatigue. Great. That's great. There are many, many recipes for Lyme disease, and a lot of people have no success, and some people have success. So, what exactly? Okay, what do I say? Here, I've been following the protocol Anthony recommended for my health issues for a full 6 weeks. That's new. By this I mean, now hold on, remember the spirit guide tells him there should be no protocol because the spirit tells him what everybody individually needs. By this I mean absolutely no alcohol, dairy, eggs, or oils with the exception of coconut oil, really, used in preparing my evening meal. No olive, no flax, no polyunsaturated, no EFAs, none. After completing the initial 28, well, that's a trick, because you can eat coconut oil and lose weight because of the way that it digests, that it's sort of heat producing, thermic, and you can lose weight doing that. No alcohol? Wait a second. This guy was drinking and had problems with it. Then he read a book, and this guy said he was a medical mystic or whatever, a medical medium, and then he stopped drinking? Does this seem true? No alcohol, dairy, eggs, or oils. So this guy read this book, and because he said he talked to a spirit, he gave up alcohol, dairy, and eggs, and oils. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. Maybe what people need to hear isn't, it's actually better for you not to take in very, very, very large animal proteins and fats and all the rest of that kind of stuff. Maybe it's hard on your body to do that kind of thing. Maybe you should eat lower on the food chain. No, why should I? Atkins, paleo. Oh, no, this guy talks to Jesus on his shoulder. And Jesus on his shoulder said, don't eat eggs, don't eat saturated fats, go low on the food chain, etc. And then you do it, and then you can't believe that you never thought of doing it before, but you needed a guy who was guided by something that he calls spirit, which is, by the way, shortcut for Holy Spirit, which is another word for kind of Jesus-y stuff. So he's appealing to the Jesus crowd and a little to the New Age crowd. Okay, all right. After completing the initial 28-day cleanse, raw fruit and vegetables only. Wait a second. Hold on a second. A 1-month cleanse, you say? Really? So this guy invented the 1-month cleanse this year? I thought that cleanse it, when I was a kid, the diamonds, the fit or fat. There were plenty of cleanse books. They're just like books on cleansing. It's out there. But this guy has really packaged it. He's really put it together. And that's what people need. That's what people need. People need to be told that this guy's special. He's very, very special. And maybe he has good information. But I don't see anything really remarkable here. Now, it turns out that what he recommends is all based on his particular hypothesis in the book that everybody has the Epstein-Barr virus. Everybody who's sick in any way has the Epstein-Barr virus at some level, and it manifests in a number of stages. This is problematic for a number of reasons. Viruses are very, very, very hard to quantify. Excuse me. Sorry, I got Epsom salt in my stomach. I'm going to be belching. very hard to figure out what people mean when they say viruses. Do they mean some sort of, protein stand-in? Do they mean some sort of nucleotide test that comes up positive for anything? It's very difficult to know what people mean. Epstein-Barr virus is probably commonly occurring in people who've any number of chemical poisonings or anything like that. And now he's saying that it's the root of all these other things. At least that's my understanding. If I'm wrong, somebody can write and correct me. I'm not saying that he has no good advice. Clearly he has some good advice. But doesn't it seem that what he's doing is walking into the room that's well populated with very good practitioners, and he's appealing to people at a level that they don't have to know anything about science or medicine. Forgive me for using the S word. They don't have to know anything about biology. They don't have to know anything about nutrition. They don't even have to care about nutrition. All they have to know is that this guy talks to Jesus on his shoulder, spirit, and that he sees things. Well, there's so many intuitives in the world, and there's so many people who are genuinely fairly psychic in the world and are reading energies of other people. I don't mean that they predict the future. I mean they read emotional energy and that sort of thing, or psychological energy, or electromagnetic energy, because we are electromagnetic creatures. Why this guy is that special and unique, really, it reeks of narcissism or of marketing. And you'll have to decide which one it is for you. I'm looking and looking and looking. I don't see anything really remarkable in any of these things. Now, let me go. These are all 5-star reviews. I don't see any actual recommendations except the fast, which you can find anywhere. He gave me a supplement. Okay. Powerful info from a true miracle worker. God. His gift led to... I was having an awful toothache for a week. It was causing pain in my jaw. I went to the dentist. He needed the tapping test on my tooth. Okay, I'd written a message to Anthony before appointments. I hadn't heard back. What a story. The problem, I have to say, the problem with these reviews is that they're professionally written. I have a lot of reviews, and none of them are professionally written. You can tell who the natural writers are, but none of them are professionally written. This is a narrative. This isn't a review. He gave me my supplement protocol, and I followed it 3 times a day religiously. It worked, all capitals. The pain was gone in a few days. It happened in June 2015, and now it's mid-November. Anthony truly saved my... Yeah, this just doesn't seem true. Okay, here's a 1-star review. 1-star reviews aren't true. They're angry. That doesn't mean they're true, but let's just read it. I have been searching desperately for answers to my daughter's stomach pain. I thought maybe this book and a consult with Anthony would finally give me the guidance I so badly need. I look at the bad grammar for truth of authorship. I paid $500 for him to ask me questions and give me advice like a ND would. He did not seem intuitive in the least bit. I had to provide all the information about my daughter's condition. He did not know anything without me telling him. I am deeply disappointed and hope no one else wastes their time or money. What I think this man is doing is unthinkable. It's a very short review. There are 11 posts in the discussion. Now, let's see. This is a negative complaint about an author who claims to have did he charge $500 to this woman to ask her questions and give normal ND advice? It's a fair question. And you'd think that as, a guy whose entire career and fame is based on his magic, he would write back and say, I never did such a thing, and I'm happy to see you and help you. I'm looking. There is no response from this guy. There's no response. And again, he's not just an author that somebody's complaining about. This person said they interacted with him personally. He has so many professional people helping him write and promote and all this stuff. You'd think they would see this 1-star review. It's the top 1-star review. 171 out of 200 people found it helpful, so that's significant. That's so stressful sounding, says one person. So little money. What did he actually suggest? Good question. I'm sorry to hear that. I can imagine how frustrating you want your daughter to have the right answers. At the beginning of this year, my 5-year-old, somebody writing a story about their daughter. Now here is not, this is Amazon customer. This is somebody saying that Anthony Williams saved their daughter's life. I know Anthony Williams saved my 5-year-old daughter's life, and I am forever grateful. After the book came out and I read it, it made more sense to me. What is needed to stay on the road of recovery. I must say it took me time to process all of the information. It might seem too vague to trust fruits and supplements, but seeing such improvement in my daughter's health is a life-savior. I wrote my experience and can provide some hope for you. Maybe bad grammar in writing being a proof of truth. So if this guy came along and said be vegan and get off all the toxic stuff, then he did, and congratulations, but you're doing what the Weston Price Foundation did. You're saying eat a little bit healthier, and people think then you can stuff a cow with butter, fry it, and eat it, and it's fine because Sally Fallon said so. It's another cult in the making, and if he has good advice, he can give good advice and keep his Jesus shit to himself, because it's alienating to a lot of people. On the other hand, it's great fucking marketing, isn't it? There's nothing more stressful, says one author, than having a child pain. Sorry to hear that your experience was not helpful to you. Let's see. Yes, here's another one. Anthony was a godsend. One night in a completely distraught state, someone sent me Anthony's website. We soon received a phone consultation within 5 minutes with barely any information. Barely diagnosed my child and gave us clear guidelines on what to do. And most oh my god. But there's not. Everybody's saying he's true and authentic, but nobody's telling me what he says. Nobody. True Star says, have you ever really seen any good pediatricians? The older ones listen and do thorough exams. Stomach pain in a kid can be so many things. It's chronic. Julie says, I was thinking about getting a consultation for my friend. One thing I would recommend is VSL3 probiotics. They're very expensive, but not for bacteria. T. Brogan says, save yourself the time, money, and energy. He basically boiled down everything to having the Epstein-Barr virus hidden in the body, no matter what the illness or metal toxicity. No matter what the illness or metal toxicity, you've got Epstein-Barr. Recommends drinking celery juice on an empty stomach and basically eating nothing but fruits and raw vegetables, and a huge list of supplements. He was also very full of himself right from the get-go. I was so excited to read this book, so disappointed. Okay. I think that this smacks of marketing. And if he's got some good ideas, I really appreciate that. But, get off your high horse. This has been Liam Scheff Show. It's been an adventure. It has for me. I hope it's been an adventure for you, too. We'll see you next week with a well-put-together show on any topic that I choose. Please support this independent research and out-loudness by buying a book, going to Amazon.com, buying Google Stories, putting a nickel in my PayPal. Jesus told you to. Spirit wants you to give me money. It's true. It's true. Anthony Williams told me. See you next time.